Hi, my name is Ricky Snyder, and this is my practicum for the class AEP 879 for the year spring of 2014. Throughout this presentation, you will see the following things: my personal introduction, some of the goals I achieved, my overall philosophy on administration, my major objective when doing this project, the activities that I did, the reflection over these activities, some articles I read to help me out with my activities, and then the summative evaluation form. Personal introduction about me. Like I said, I'm Ricky Snyder. I'm a 7th grade teacher at Hutchinson Middle School. This is my second year teaching there, 7th overall year teaching, and I'm also the head girls basketball coach at Trinity Catholic, also here in Hutch. I've been married to my wife Mandy for 5 years. She is also a 1st grade teacher. Just this past December, we had our first child. Her name is Maya Monroe, and she is a 5-month-old healthy little baby girl. In this class, a couple of things that I achieved. I was able to learn more about the ISLIC standards and how they relate to administration and how to apply them. I also learned how to handle different situations through the given case studies and through the various activities I did. And one good thing that I really learned was understanding the more economic side of being an administrator. My overall philosophy in being an administrator, first of all, is to value everyone's input. I want to take in all the different sides of a story before I make a decision. I always want to make decisions based on what is best for students, not necessarily what is easy for me or for other people or what gets me the least amount of phone calls, but what is best for students. I always want to be ethical, I want to be firm but fair, and I always want to lead by example. If I show up late to work or not do the things I'm supposed to do, how can I expect my staff to work hard? My major objective of this practicum was to gain as much perspective as I could by learning from the other principals and assistant principals I was learning from. I spent many times talking to them about certain situations, asking them how they would have handled them, and also tried to put myself in their position and ask myself how I would have handled that particular situation. So some of the activities that I did, first one was that I introduced self-regulation training to students, which we did every week for 12 weeks in 30-minute segments. This goes along with ISLIC standard number 3. Overall, I thought this was a good way for kids to help learn deal with their emotions. Some of the activities we did were a little bit childish, but after we got those issues ironed out, hopefully we'll have better material. Next year we're going to try to do it again next year. Another activity was I discussed budget and funding with Trinity Catholic Schools principal. This goes along with standards 1 and 6. This was really neat for me to understand the differences between public and private schools and how, some of the different things that they look for and how they manage overall. We had a basketball game that was rescheduled, and it goes along with ISLIC standard number 3. This was definitely something that was of interest to me since I am a basketball coach, but it was in order to do your job well, you have to have a good AD who helps you out a lot, and this showed me how that did that. I was able to monitor a sub-state basketball game on March 4th. This goes along with ISLIC standard number 3. There's a lot that goes into getting ready. You have to arrive early, stay late, make sure everybody's there that needs to be there. Your ticket takers, officials, gatekeepers, concession stand people, things like that. Activity 5 was I organized a PLC that integrated some technology. I brought some new ideas to our PLC lead. This goes with ISLIC standard number 2. Showed some other teachers some different iPad uses, some iPad apps, and how they could integrate those in their classroom. Activity number 6 was at the elementary school. I was able to supervise a lunch recess on March 10th. This goes along with ISLIC standard number 2. There's a lot going on. It's important to make sure you set rules and boundaries at the beginning so that students kind of know what their expectations or what your expectations are of them, and it helps them to keep from making poor choices. There's a picture of me doing the lunch recess. Activity number 7 was witnessing searching a student for drug paraphernalia. This goes along with ISLIC standard 5. This is definitely one of the tougher situations I dealt with, but it showed me exactly how to handle it. You need to make sure you have witnesses so that it doesn't become a he said, she said thing, and that's what our assistant principal did. And you want to make sure that you follow all the procedures down to the letter, because otherwise it could get you in a lot of hot water. Supervising lunchroom duty, I did this on March 11th. This goes along with ISLIC standard number 3. I got to interact with all different students of different ages. A lot of kids I didn't have in class necessarily. They do have a tendency to be a little more rambunctious there, so this makes it a little bit more tough of a job. They're perfect angels, obviously, when you take a picture of them, though. Activity number 9, I attended a grade school music concert. Things like these are important to see or be seen at because it shows the parents that you care about what's going on, and it's just one of those things that as an administrator you must do to show the kids that you're taking an interest in what they are doing. Activity number 10, there was a grade school family movie night for my wife's first grade class, and so I attended that with her. And again, kind of one of those things where you just get out in the community, make yourself seen, show that you're taking an interest in what the kids are involved in, and it also goes a long way with the parents. Activity 11, now this is a series of 4 different meetings I went to. It was the meeting for the budget process for the next school year. This goes along with ISLIC standard number 6. This one was kind of an introductory meeting. There were 3 other meetings that we had, which I'll get to later, but it just kind of laid the groundwork for what the goals were going to be for the upcoming fiscal year. There's a copy of the letter that we got for those that were attending it. You can see the 4 different dates there: March 3rd, 31st, April 16th, and April 21st. Activity number 12 was budget meeting number 2. We listened to the specific needs of each level, whether that be secondary, elementary, middle school, or the maintenance part of our district, just to kind of give us some ideas on what they thought their needs might be. Activity number 13, we had a teaching position open in our building, and so I got to kind of show the candidate around and got to talk up our district and talk up our building and got to answer some questions. I didn't get to sit in on the interview, but I did get to show them around. Number 14, worked on mission statements for the upcoming school year. I helped out our assistant principal. This goes along with ISLIC standard number 1. I was really good, obviously, in the science area and able to help out with that. The other ones were a little bit more difficult when we were trying to write mission statements for all those core areas. Activity 15, this was one of the more beneficial activities I did. I evaluated a fellow teacher, and it was very tough to evaluate this in one sitting, but we had a pre-evaluation, what they were going to be doing, what I was looking for, but it just gives you a good idea, and then we had the actual evaluation, we had the post-observation evaluation as well, and so we got to talk about strengths, weaknesses, things like that. So it was a really good experience for me. Like I said, the only drawback was it was tough to evaluate in only one sitting. Activity number 16, changing the marquee outside of the school. This goes along with standard number 4. This was definitely a good way to use your resources and make sure that parents and kids are aware of upcoming activities and early releases, sporting events, activities, band, concerts, things like that. And so it's very good to use those resources there because parents are constantly picking their kids up from school and reading that. Activity 17, running a DNF list. We did this on a Monday morning. I learned how to run a DNF list on our grading system, which is Skyward. It helped out all of our coaches, our track coaches and band teachers and things like that to let them know which kids were eligible and which kids were not. Activity 18 was the 3rd meeting in that budget process. This was a good one. It was probably the most beneficial meeting in my opinion of the 4 because we got to sit down and break down into small groups and discuss what we thought the most important things were in each different area and kind of rank them and prioritize them in a list. Activity 19, this was probably one of the longer activities I did, and this was getting workers for our track meet that we had at our school. You get a lot of turn downs, a lot of grumblings about it, but it actually did go off pretty well, the track meet, and so people appreciated it. I know the track coaches appreciate when others help out because it takes a lot of load off of their schedule. Activity 20, we communicated with 6th grade teachers about incoming students, and this goes along with ISLIC standard number 1. Looked at MTSS plans about kids who may struggle moving into the 7th grade, and so we discussed about the best ways to handle those students' work. Activity 21 was the last meeting in the budget process. This was kind of a frustrating meeting because it didn't feel like our voices were heard at all because the things that we suggested and thought that would be the most beneficial to each different area were not very well received, and so they went a different direction, and so that was kind of frustrating. Activity 22, what we do at our school is we do Students of the Week, and this goes along with ISLIC standard number 2, and it helps identify students who've done something really outstanding each week and kind of gives them some recognition, and kids try for that to become students of the week. Here's a picture of the bracelet they get when they get it, and they get their picture taken, and it goes up at school there. Activity number 23, we do a card sale for fundraisers, discount cards for stores in the town there, and this goes along with ISLIC standard number 3. Takes a lot of organizational skills, but kids really get into it, the competition, and it's a neat activity for the kids. There's a look at the discount cards that we were selling this year. Activity number 24, there was a carnival at one of the elementary school, my wife's elementary school, and I helped out there, and again, it's good to see the kids. The kids are so excited about it, and get to know some of the families, so that's neat. The last activity I did was we began a book study in our PLC, which our district may be going towards more standard-based grading, and so we were looking at that, and it's by Robert Marzano, and so it was just a neat thing to read about and just to get a different perspective for sure. And there's a copy of that book that we have begun reading. So exploration stage. Going into this course, I really thought it was just going to be the last hoop to jump through. I didn't think I would gain much knowledge. However, I was definitely wrong, because this experience forced me to think critically about how I would handle certain situations that put myself in the shoes of the administrator, and then allowed myself to reflect upon the actions taken by the administration as if this was the best route to be taken. I believe that the preconceived notion about this class came from being so close to being done, but when I dug down and began to take an in-depth look at different situations and the way to handle them, it was definitely a good thing for me. By having the opportunity to do all these activities, it allowed me to focus on the ISLIC standards and make decisions, both real and hypothetical, based on what was best for students. After being put in the position to make decisions as an administrator, it really helped me realize that this is a direction that I want to continue to go down, whether that be as a building administrator or an athletic director. I would really enjoy sharing all the knowledge that I've gained and pass that on to others. So some of the articles that I looked up to kind of help me out in the practice. The first one talks about the importance of having a crisis plan in place with your students, so that they're prepared, and the things that you need to go over as an administrator and how to implement those. As a coach, or for the second article, talked about the social media. Definitely need to have a social media policy in place to protect your athletes. Third one, developing a system of priorities for the athletic administrator. You must prioritize your time, or else you're not going to get anything successfully accomplished. Next article I read talked about energy drinks and how they can be detrimental to the athlete and some of the risks involved with those. Next article I read was about developing good relationship with your superiors and how to sustain those relationships as well. The sixth article there I read was talking about engaging parents and how to help out the athletic program rather than hinder it. The next article I read talked about, again, kind of the same thing, but keeping parents involved in balancing that fine line between helpful and hindrance. Is there a justification to maintain the arts in schools with the budget crisis? There's a lot of schools that are starting to cut some of those, and it focused on those things. And then the last article I read was sports officials under assault liability issues. Officials are dying out, and you don't want that, because we're losing officials and because of the verbal abuse that they're taking. And so that was kind of a thing that I have to make sure that I'm well aware of as well. Last thing I have here on my slide is the evaluation signed by Joe Hammersmith, who's the principal at Trinity Catholic High School, and just says that I completed all my activities. So thank you guys so much for listening, and this was a very good experience for me, and I really learned a lot, and I hope to be able to use all this information that I've gained moving forward and as I become either an athletic director or an administrator of some kind. Thank you.